My name is Jimmy Williams with NFL Draft Diamonds. And here with me today, I have a diamond in the rough I'd like you to meet. This here is Andrew Hahn. He is an offensive tackle out of Augsburg University. Nice to have you today, sir.
Nice to be here. How are you doing?
Doing okay, man. We are in the thick of things now with guys finishing up their collegiate, eligibility, their season, and looking towards the draft cycle, of course. And I know we got a guy here who I feel people really need to get to know. It's not too often we get a player of your stature that falls through the cracks that ends up at a D3 program. So let's go ahead and get started. Introduce yourself and uh, tell us about yourself.
Yeah, so my name's Andrew Hahn. I'm from a small town called Avon, Minnesota, about 1,000 people in it. I went to Albany Area High School. It's about 30 minutes northwest of St. Cloud, Minnesota, off the interstate. I played football and basketball and dabbled a little bit in track and field, but I ended up getting recruited for football and basketball and ended up picking football as my collegiate sport. I ended up going to Augsburg University in the heart of Minneapolis, also off of the interstate. So it's like three turns from my house. Uh, Enjoyed my time there. I started all 4 years except for one game my freshman year. Uh, had a had a great time there. Just graduated in the winter. So I now drive Zamboni full time there, and I start tomorrow.
Zamboni, that's fun. Maybe we could talk more about that. So it's certainly a fun little gig. So Andrew, again, just want to recap some of the things that you had just mentioned. Again, at Avon, Minnesota, attending Augsburg University, a D3 school there in the Minneapolis area. Not too far, but far enough, I guess, for you to get away from home, you know. But even if we start before all of that, let's start at the very beginning, man. How long have you played football?
Um, so my school, we play like recess, but we don't have like a youth football set up. So my school in my area is very big on starting in seventh grade. You kind of get the high school program. You have the same playbook from seventh grade through high school, but they don't want to start you too early in tackle football so you don't get burnt out, and they give you time to try other sports before you start playing football.
I think that that's kind of the downside sometimes as to where you grow up. And, again, you had mentioned a very small town in Avon with like, uh, I don't know, a one traffic light town or something.
I wish we had a traffic light. We just have a stop sign.
Man, that's something else. And then, like you had mentioned, did some other sports growing up. That looks more like a basketball jersey in the background there for
Yep,
from
that's my youth basketball jersey.
Nice. And so you did some basketball, some track and field, and I know oftentimes when people are looking for offensive linemen, they do want to make sure to have a guy who might have some experience in some other sports, such as basketball, where obviously you're able to go out there and utilize like your footwork and such. I'm trying to. Uh, I guess rationalize maybe how I would use you as a basketball player. What can I just assume you played center on the court?
Yep, I was a pure back to the basket post player. Um, I really enjoyed my time playing basketball, but when you can't get above the rim for, most of the game, the translation into college basketball isn't the greatest.
Yeah, I mean, he's still a tall guy. I mean, your main goal probably is just get the rebound, pass it to your point guard, shooting guard, allow them to score. Like that sort of thing. It's okay. It's okay to have that role, man. I just want to let you know. But cool. So been playing for a little bit, but maybe not perhaps as long as some other people, mainly because of the fact that obviously you just weren't given that opportunity.
Yep.
But you played a lot of other sports, dabbled a tad in track and field, and then closed up your time there. As we are recruiting you out of high school, um, I'm trying to think of your situation because, being that you're from a small town, I don't know if many other big schools are coming around, trying to recruit in your area. What was your recruiting like? Can you kind of walk me through some of that?
Yeah, so I started getting when I was starting to get recruited, it was this right at the same time as the COVID pandemic. So there wasn't really any opportunities for schools to come find you, like to come see you in
Mhm.
person. So the first phone call that I had was with University of River Falls. They were the first school to contact me about football, and then it kind of snowballed from there. I think other Division threes, especially the MIAC, caught wind that I was getting recruited for football, and then that kind of started my football recruitment process. But everything was virtual over the phone or on Zoom due to the pandemic.
Yeah, man, that kind of sucks. I mean, I think you and a lot of other guys like being recruited, in that 2020 like class, um, it had to be rough. Had to be rough because again, you couldn't really, do too many you know, on-site interviews. Like it's all done through Zoom. And so obviously you get a chance. You recruited by the WIAC, MIAC of the D3, and so hey, it's okay. You end up falling through the cracks. It's fine because if you are good, the NFL will find you. And so you end up there at Augsburg. For people that don't know Augsburg, tell them a little bit more about that school and tell me ultimately why you chose to go there.
Yeah, so Augsburg's more well known for the wrestling program. It is the 14-time national champion. I forget that's our main sport. It's us or Wartburg that win the national championship for wrestling since like the 90s. So that's our main like calling card for sports is wrestling. We've also had a couple national championships in hockey when we were in the NAIA. But it's a little school right in the heart of Minneapolis. We're pretty close to the campus. Last time I timed it, it takes me about 4 or 5 minutes to walk from one side of the campus to the other. So just a little small campus, very tight knit community. So it's like a small town in Minneapolis. And that was ultimately one of the reasons why I chose to go there. I still wanted the small town feel where, the class sizes are small, things like that. And there's kind of like a tight knit community. But I wanted to go experience a bigger city. Uh, no offense to where I grew up, but I've been here for a couple weeks now in between school and work. And there's not much to do in rural Minnesota in the middle of winter. So I liked being in the cities, having a little bit more stuff to do in my free time. And also I just finished on my exercise science degree and Twin Cities Orthopedics is the like medical provider for the sports at Augsburg. So I got to shadow with physical therapists and like our team doctors shared with the Vikings. So we had a lot of like high quality medical staff around the college.
Nice. Kind of answered my next question there, and that is what you graduated with and such, exercise science. Kind of nice, man. That to rub shoulders with some, people like that maybe work with the Vikings, the physical
Yeah,
therapists
I
and
just
such.
saw Dr. Bierke on Fox behind Kevin O'Connell when they were playing the Packers last week.
Nice. Is that something that you see yourself doing maybe when your football days are maybe done, like being a physical therapist or working in some kind of fashion like that?
Yep. So I'm planning on being a physical therapist. I've been accepted to physical therapy school. Uh, I have that set up so I have that as an option in the coming fall. I got accepted to University of Mary in Bismarck, North Dakota.
Nice.
But yeah, I'm
Well,
planning on being a physical therapist.
all right, sounds good. Well, but before you get there, just want to obviously talk more about your football journey. See if you perhaps some people at the next level might have some interest in you before you hang things up, for football. So
Yeah.
let's talk more about this. So, I mean, Augsburg football. Talk about your offense and how you were utilized over the past several seasons.
Yeah. So when I came in high school, we ran wishbone, and then first game that I started, we threw the ball 50 times. We ran like a spread, and then with RPOs. A lot of colleges seem to like to do the RPO now, so like the quarterback can they have answers to anything the defense throws at them. We had for three of my first 3 years, we had a mobile quarterback, so we had a lot. We had some quarterback designed runs. I
Mhm.
started out playing right tackle my first 2 years. It was just a stance I was more comfortable in, and I was a little bit undersized weight wise. So they didn't want me on the blind side yet, but I converted to the left side my junior year and played the last 2 seasons as a left tackle.
Nice. Well, I mean, at the very least, I mean, what you have is some experience playing on the right side, playing on the left side, and it's nice to have a little bit of versatility, for a prospect. Again, sometimes people are just kind of limited to perhaps one role.
Yep.
Um, you had mentioned slightly there that you come in and maybe wasn't perhaps the size that you wanted to be. So elaborate on that a little bit, man. I'm just kind of curious.
Yeah. So I feel like at least most offensive tackles, especially at the higher end of Division 3, are wanted to be basketball players and just weren't athletic enough to get above the rim. So I was I had got recruited for basketball by some schools, and I was the weight of what I wanted to play at for basketball, around 240, 245 pounds. And then I ended up playing football, and I was told when I was getting recruited, yeah, we're going to develop you for a year, then you're going to put on some weight, then you're going to play. We had some injuries and some stuff happened where I was put into a starting role I that I wasn't quite ready for as a freshman, just coming straight out of high school. So I was playing most of the season around 235 pounds at tackle.
Wow.
So I would just have to put my body in the right spot with my footwork, but the physicality wasn't there yet.
So, what is your current height and weight? Can we kind of throw that out there for people?
Yeah, so I'm about 6'6", and I've lost a little bit of weight since the football season. So I'm about 275 pounds now. I normally play around 290 to 295 my last 2 years of college.
So, interesting, man. Playing at around 285, 290. I mean, we're looking at a guy who gained 40 pounds. Obviously, since coming in as a freshman, that doesn't happen overnight, man. We got to give some credit to where it's due. I mean, with like your staff there, how does one gain that kind of weight? I remember a few years back, there was this one D3 guy who put on a whole bunch of weight, eating, drinking like these nasty protein shakes. How did that work for you?
Yeah, so that guy Ben Barch actually was down the road from me. His St. John's University is about 5 miles from my house.
Hmm.
Um, but at Augsburg, we had a nutritionist on our in our medical staff. They weren't through Twin Cities Orthopedics, but they were through another healthcare provider. And I kind of worked with her along with my coaches to kind of set a goal weight that was attainable where I wouldn't lose a lot of speed. That was kind of my like perk of being a basketball player that was a little bit lighter at tackle. I had a fair amount of speed, but I didn't want to be light where I'd get thrown around if I was getting bull rushed. So a lot of it was just working hard in the off season in the with the strength and conditioning coaches as well as being in the cafeteria a lot. But ultimately it worked out good for me.
Hey, and it's fine. There's a part of me that feels like maybe if recruited properly, you probably could have been a tight end. But obviously, you come in and they're like, hey, let's put some weight on this guy. Let's make him into an offensive lineman. And it's worked out for you fairly well, man. Again, you had mentioned like, you 4 year starter, starting on the right side, starting on the left side. Anything else that you feel maybe perhaps separates you from some of the other guys that play your position? What do you feel is like one of your main, best traits as a prospect?
I think definitely like understanding the game and understanding defenses. We had a lot of quarterbacks play this year due to injuries. So we got down all the way down to our third quarterback by the start of the year. But with my ability to see the defense and kind of know through film and tendencies, I could call the run plays and I could have like not the wide receivers. The wide receivers do what they want. I didn't really care about their route concepts. But for like the run game concept, I felt like I could call the whole run game from the left tackle position. And
Okay.
like there's even one of the times where I could audible the pass pro based on what I saw, so it takes some of the stress off of the quarterback.
Nice. And even going back to some of the things that you had mentioned, from, with your transition from high school to college, you had mentioned again going from the wishbone to like some pass heavy offense. And so we are looking at a guy who knows, both ends of the spectrum when we're looking at like a very heavy running attack versus, obviously airing the ball out like 50 plus times. And so
Yep.
it's nice to be able to have that under your belt as well. So let's talk a little bit more about Augsburg football. Again, the Minnesota Intercollegiate Athletic Conference, there in D3, where if we're being real, it's typically dominated by St. John's. But you guys are with it. You're fighting and clawing for some wins here and there. Talk about some of the guys who are maybe in the trenches with you, alongside you, maybe with you during practice. Let's hype up some of your teammates there.
Yeah, so I've played next to a lot of different every year that I started, I had a different guard next to me. So I started out my time freshman year with Ben Alexander. He was a hard-nosed guard, a typical D3 guard, but he really introduced me to the college game. And then I played next to I played next to Paul Lemke when he was a fifth year. He was he's the one that taught me about kind of reading a defense and the smarts behind football. He's works for Medtronic now. I think he's in medical sales. Super smart guy. My favorite guard to play next to was Michael Harris. He's the same class as me. He converted to center this past season. But the one year that we had at when I was left tackle, and he was left guard. It was his first season at O line after converting from D tackle. So we worked really well together. He was a big part of the reason why I got all region honors my junior year, and that was the most fun I had run blocking was next to him. He would stand the guy up and I would hit their hip and it'd be a pancake block almost every time.
Nice. Nice to have some guys alongside you. I want to make sure that we give some love to those people. Again, not a lot of people know much about Augsburg, so we need to hype up that school as much as we can. So, again, as I'd mentioned, and I know it might be somewhat of a gut punch when I say it's a very, tough ordeal playing in that conference. You've had to fight and claw for any sort of recognition over your time there because of other teams dominating your conference. I know that's a hard thing to talk about, but there are guys at the D3 level that make it to the pros. That you get to these moments where you do have to get through adversity. What helps motivate you when things maybe aren't going exactly the way you want them to go?
I think a big thing that motivated me was trusting in the system and trusting in like some of my teammates. Uh, there has been some tough times around Augsburg football. We used to have a really bad culture around football where we'd be scratching and clawing for like a win or two a season. And now we're getting upset when we aren't towards the top four of the MIAC. So sometimes we have to look back at where we were before all of us got recruited and what Augsburg football was like beforehand. I think we're the first group of my class, the class of 2021. We're the first class to have a 500 record at Augsburg since like they won the conference in 97. Um, we've had a lot of up and downs. We were one play away from making the conference championship game my sophomore year. So we've been really close, we've had a Hail Mary win against Gustavus junior year. We've had some great moments. We've had some not so good moments, but a lot of it is just believing in the school and believing in the system and the people around you.
Yeah, definitely up and coming. Someone obviously that is, you know, trying to gain more recognition. And you were obviously part of that. I mean, you were part of, really establishing things there on the offensive line. I mean, it goes without saying when you have a guy with what, 40 plus starts, I'm assuming, who's a part of all of those games, whether they be wins or losses. It I don't know. I think it's something to hang your hat on. To obviously, have that as part of your overall resume. Again, have had some good moments. Despite the win loss record. What is perhaps like your favorite moment of playing for Augsburg? Can you walk me through a game or a moment out there on the field?
Um, the main moment that sticks out is from this last season. We knew we were going to have a lot of adversity because we lost all of our skill players on offense in 1 year just to graduation. And our main rival in the MIAC now is St. Olaf.
Mm.
And they were 6-0 when by the time that we played them, and we ended up beating them in overtime. And just the in the locker room after that game was the energy in the locker room was the best energy that we've had pretty much ever that I've been a part of.
It's nice to play spoiler at the very least, right?
Yep. Especially
Um,
to your rival.
hey, I think it's fun. It's fun to deliver that one loss to the one team who didn't think they were going to lose.
Yep.
So, cool. Nice moment there. So, uh, do want to get a chance to meet this guy off the field somewhat. So Andrew, tell me something about you other than that of a football player. Any interesting facts? You have any I don't know, special talents or something, hobbies or interests or something? Tell me about you.
Yeah. So my main interesting fact is that I'm a Zamboni driver at Augsburg. Um, but I do a lot of other stuff too, mainly due to the kicker at Augsburg, my one of my roommates. Um, he's he's from also a small town up in Minnesota, up in northern Minnesota. His main pastime in the summer is jumping off cliffs into old iron quarries from
Oh,
like
wow. Okay.
20 to 40 feet. That's his main pastime. So meeting him as me and my other roommates, Carter Wendroth, Joe Zachow, and then the kickers, Nathan Wangenstein, we'll all go up with another one of our teammates, Rio Star. We'll go up once a summer and we'll all go hang out up in where he grew up, jump off cliffs, run around town, just get up to just tomfoolery and whatnot, hanging out up there.
So when you say you're jumping off cliffs, I mean, are you parachuting? Are you gliding? Like, are you talk to me, man, because that sounds crazy.
So so iron quarries, they after they're done using them, they have to let the land like reclaim them. So they plant trees, and it eventually fills up with. I'm pretty sure it's rainwater, but eventually it fills back up with water. So the pits will be 100 feet deep or whatnot.
Okay.
So you'll jump off the wall about 20 to 40 feet into the water. I don't do the 40-foot one. I think the tallest one I did was 30. That was high enough for me because by the time you're about to hit the water, you're like, man, I really shouldn't be in the air anymore.
Well, it sounds fun. A bit extreme for some tastes, but it's all right. A guy who grows up, in Minnesota, obviously ends up in Minneapolis. I'm assuming maybe perhaps a Vikings fan.
Oh, absolutely.
So, uh, growing up, who was it for you, man? I mean, who are you a big fan of? Like a particular player or something, or what?
So my original football fandom started with watching Brett Favre when he was the Packers player. So I was a
Okay.
Brett Favre fan. So I followed him around until he got to the Vikings. And then the first Vikings game I went to was when Brett Favre threw the like last second touchdown pass in the back of the end zone to forget who, but it was against the 49ers.
Okay.
And since then I've been a Vikings fan through and through all of the times.
Well, they're doing
Um
pretty well right now, man. What do you think?
every time I watch him though, it gives me a heart attack. Me and my dad watch him together. We'll both be standing up behind the couches, pacing around. But
Yeah.
it's a great season. It's great to be a part of. I'll be watching the game on my computer from the ice rink on Sunday. So,
Nice. And driving a Zamboni, I'm assuming you're somewhat of a hockey fan?
yes, I also the old WCHA with the Gophers and all the Minnesota schools. I originally wanted to be a hockey player and I tried skating once. And then I decided I would like to play basketball instead. But I love watching hockey and being around hockey. I've had a lot of friends at Augsburg that have been on the hockey team. So I've tried to find my way into weaseling my way as close to the game as possible. So I got to Zamboni driving, and then during the Division 3 hockey games, I walk out on the ice and I move the nets around when the Zamboni goes around. I'll clear out the pegs or the holes that the pegs go in for the nets. So just try to stay as close to all the sporting events that I like as possible.
That sounds fun. I mean, I'm pretty sure there's some crazy people perhaps like in the stands that are saying, "Hey, keep that big guy out there and let him be the goalie, man, because they'll never get by him."
Yeah.
I think that would be fun. But Andrew, we do need to finish up our time. It's been fun. Just kind of talking to you about your journey. Again, we're looking at a guy who's very experienced, who's got quality athleticism that can be used at the next level. Do want to get your name out there to more people so they get a chance to know you. As we close up, final thoughts to perhaps any doubters, any people watching this, and maybe a pitch to some of those scouts out there. What do you got to tell them?
Um, Tough question. I just think that the film that I have speaks for itself. I have 39 starts in a one of the best Division 3 conferences there is. I've played against players that could be in the NFL or some of the best Division 3 All-Americans from my conference, and I've had good games against all of them. So I think with my experience and my adaptability, I think I could play any position on the O line at the next level. I think my versatility and my smarts will help me improve on my abilities.
Yeah, I mean, we're looking at a guy who I don't think you get the credit you deserve, man. I mean, when you get a guy who is flexible enough to play multiple positions on the offensive line, guy with, some good understanding of the game, plays against some of the top competition at the Division 3 level and is able to hold his own, and guy with the good basketball background, having good footwork and things of that nature certainly helps, of course. Being a quality leader for your program, I mean, really understanding what it takes to, you know, help your team along, even if it's struggling. I know you do a very good job of, helping those around you. So, Andrew, I know you got a lot going on, but want to wish you all the best moving forward. Okay.
Yep, you as well. You as well.
Thanks, buddy. Once again, I got with me Andrew Hahn, offensive tackle at Augsburg University. Check him out.